Good evening, everyone. My name is Hadia Jordan. I am your facilitator and a presenter for this evening. Welcome to tonight's tunnel forum for the Northeast Boundary Tunnel Project. I'm glad that you could join us tonight, and I hope you find the presentation informative. We are recording this meeting, and I'll make it available by posting it on DC Water's YouTube, and I'll send a link out so that you can share it with your residents, your fellow neighbors. So I would like to begin by introducing to you a few other presenters who will be presenting tonight. So joining me will be Harold Cordes, Giuseppe Benevento.
Hi, everyone.
Matt, thanks. Matt Woniak.
Good evening, everyone.
And Alan Eder.
Hello.
So we have a full agenda for tonight, so we will go ahead and get started. I'll share my screen. So tonight we're covering updates for the following construction sites: First Street Pumping Station, T Street Northwest, Florida Avenue Northwest, and R Street Northwest. If you would like to receive email updates about the construction sites, please place your email in the chat to me and include the construction site you would like to receive updates about. As usual, we have plenty to share, so here's our full agenda. Please hold your questions until the end of the meeting. Thank you. So we'll start off by talking about the problem and the solution that the Northeast Boundary Tunnel is being constructed for. So a combined sewer is a single pipe that carries both sanitary wastewater and stormwater runoff. The combined sewer overflow system, which we typically call a CSO, allows raw sewage and stormwater to overflow into our district waterways, including the Anacostia River, Rock Creek, and the Potomac River. The Northeast Boundary Tunnel system, this orange line here, that we're building will capture most of that overflow from reaching the Anacostia River and divert it to the Blue Plains Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. There, it will be treated and cleaned before it's released into the Potomac River. In your neighborhoods, we're constructing diversion facilities that connect to the combined sewer pipe and direct that flow to the Northeast Boundary Tunnel. The red circles represent our construction sites. You can see that the tunnel alignment, which is this red line, is where there is chronic flooding, and these blue squares represent the chronic flooding areas. The tunnel will significantly reduce flooding in those areas. When the work on the NEBT is completed, it will be connected to the Anacostia River Tunnel, which is this blue line, this summer to begin operating. The Anacostia River Tunnel began operating in 2018. It has since captured 14.86 billion gallons of combined sewer overflows and over 9,000 tons of trash that would have otherwise entered into our beautiful Anacostia River. So we have some resources online that's available to you. I'm going to place links to these resources in the chat, including to the DC Flood Task Force, which is a district government group, and their purpose is to identify policies and projects to bolster flood readiness while equitably protecting the district's residents and economy from the damage that floods our communities. So I'm going to put these, as I mentioned, I'm going to put these links right now, bear with me, into the chat, and you will be able to access that.
So,
I'm sorry, Harold.
yeah, that's
Go
fine.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Adia. So this slide is about the commissioning plan for the Northeast Boundary Tunnel and the First Street Tunnel. So commissioning means we put this system into operation, the tunnel and all the near surface structure. So we plan to commission the Northeast Boundary Tunnel this summer, the summer of 2023. The exact timing is really dependent on construction progress because we still do work in the tunnel and also some work on the near surface structures. So we can't really completely finalize this. And it also depends on the weather because we have to do this in dry weather. We can't work in the tunnel when there is rain. So it's really dependent on this. So we have not an exact time, but it will be the summer of 2023. So the commissioning includes first we testing all the facilities we constructed over the last years. And then we have to remove temporary bulkheads. So all the near surface structures currently are isolated with temporary bulkheads from the tunnel so that the tunnel is not getting any flow. In addition to this bulkheads, we have bulkheads in the tunnel system, to isolate the First Street Tunnel from the Northeast Boundary Tunnel, and also to isolate the Northeast Boundary Tunnel from the Anacostia system, which is already operational. And so we have to take these out. And we also have to set weirs, offices, and gate positions to allow flow in the tunnel during rain events. And this work will primarily performed from openings in the surface. You see on the left side, there's a picture from First Street Tunnel when we isolated this tunnel during the winter when we did work in the tunnel. So we have manholes and removable slabs, and then we can start the commissioning from there. So that's really what you see. And then the majority of the work will be in the tunnel, which you don't see. And we will provide you an update when we get closer to the summer about the exact timing, the exact starting date. And this commissioning includes, just very quick, not just the Northeast Boundary Tunnel, we're also commissioning the First Street Tunnel, which was already in operation, but it was just a storage facility. And now it will be connected to the Northeast Boundary Tunnel and can drain via the Northeast Boundary Tunnel then into the Anacostia system. And the SCSO goes all the way down to Blue Plains to the treatment plant.
Fantastic. Thank you, Harold. So I'm going to bring you over to the Bryant Street alternative parking area. The parking space is on 2nd Street. This is 2nd Street. Up here is Bryant Street Northwest. These parking spaces were created to serve residents for the loss of street parking during the construction of the First Street and the Northeast Boundary tunnels. This space is a district Department of Transportation right-of-way. This summer, we will convert those parking spaces into a green space. All trees and plants are selected by DDOT's Urban Forestry Division. So here is a close-up. As you can see, we'll be planting willow oaks in the area and some lovely scarlet firethorns. So now we'll move into the construction site and traffic updates for each of the construction sites, starting with First Street Pumping Station. We'll move through each site and end with R Street construction.
Okay, so on the stretch at Rhode Island Avenue from 1st Street to 6th Street, we have 4 construction sites. So we start from 1st Street. We have a pumping station site. So over there, the working hours are from Monday to Friday, regular hours from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And when it's required, we work also on Saturday. The overall completion is expected to be by fall this year. So we are working now. We are going to repair a damaged sewer that was damaged during the construction the construction of the tunnel at First Street and Rhode Island. We are going to enter from a main hall that is located in front on Rhode Island Avenue in front of the Mount Bethel Baptist Church. Later on, we are gonna perform the last underground demolition work. So we are gonna remove a bulkhead that is separating First Street tunnel and the current tunnel that was built on this phase, the NEBT tunnel. At surface level, we are gonna restore the pumping station site and all the construction site area. So we're going to remove all the pumps, the equipment that is on the pumping station. We have to flow fill the shaft, the vault, the force main. And on the next slide, we are going to analyze better the site restoration area.
Okay, as Giuseppe mentioned, they'll be working in front of Mount Bethel Baptist Church coming up. And what will mean is the hours they'll work at this is a little different. It's from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And so what we have to do though is because it's out, the manhole's out in the road, we're going to have to reduce traffic during that period to 1 lane. So we have 3 lanes coming westbound. It will be reduced to 2 as you get closer to the intersection, and finally down to 1. So following that, it'll open back up to 2 lanes and continue as 2 lanes through till Florida Avenue. Now going eastbound, we'll still have the 2 lanes, and it will continue to be 2 lanes through that area. And then once after First Street, it will widen and open till 3 lanes. One of the things right now is there's a no left turn from from Rhode Island Avenue to First Street northbound. And we're going to add some more signing in that area because we are having people not look at the one sign that's up there. So we're going to add more signing to try to get them to obey the no left turn restriction at this point. Parking restrictions will remain in place throughout the area. Next slide.
So that now we talk about the restoration work, the one that is gonna come at the surface level. So first thing, we are gonna remove in all the sites. This is generic for all the sites, all the monitoring devices that we use to construct and to check to monitor the all the activity during the construction activity. We are gonna demo the temporary pump station structure, sidewalk, roadway. Then we are gonna construct the bioretention area. We have 2 bioretention area at pump station. Install 3 boxes, plants. Repaving of the roads. We're gonna repave all the roads from First Street Northwest to Thomas Street Northwest, Rhode Island Avenue Northwest. Then from Thomas Street, from the alleyway to First Street. We are going to repave the pedestrian ADA curb ramps, sidewalk, curbs, curb and gutter. We are going to restore the granite curb and sidewalk on Thomas Street Northwest. So the sidewalk, curb and gutter restoration is invasive in this area. We're going to set the traffic signals and street light. And at the end, where you see now all the connexes and the fences, we are going to restore the Bethesda Baptist Church parking lot. So everything is going to become as it was, as a big parking lot.
Thank you. So Giuseppe mentioned that we'll be constructing bioretention at the First Street site. So I want to just give a little bit of description of what bioretention is. So when it rains, the water runs off the sidewalks, streets, and parking lots, and even roofs into the inlets and catch basins. This is called runoff. And this stormwater runoff can pick up trash and other pollutants that can flow into the combined sewer system. So the bioretention areas capture and clean the stormwater runoff. So it captures it from the sidewalk, and it allows it to slowly filter through the plants and the microbes and slowly release any excess runoff into the combined sewer system. There's a pipe that connects it to our system. DC Water is responsible for the maintenance of all DC water bioretention facilities. So if we create it, then we maintain it. So here's an example of or drawing of what we'll be doing at the First Street Pump Station. This is Thomas Street, and this is First Street Northwest. And right here in front of the Bethesda Baptist Church parking lot, we'll create some 2 bioretention areas. Let me do a zoom in that area. And in that bioretention area, we're going to plant some lovely plants that is recommended for a bioretention area. These are the plants that we may plant in that bioretention area, including New Jersey tea, Cheyenne sky. These are photos that show what those plants typically look like. Purple coneflower, lily turf, big blue, black chokeberry, Morton, and goldenrod.
So now we move to T Street. T Street, as you notice, we have 2 working area. One is at T Street Northwest, and the other area is along Rhode Island Avenue Northwest. At T Street, as upcoming work, all the structure, the structure are completed. So we're going to restore the sidewalk and the 3 boxes. We're going to restore the curb and the roads. We're going to demo the bioretention area, because here we have only 1 bioretention area that is located at T Street, and we're going to prepare the construction. On the other side, on Rhode Island Avenue side, also there, all the construction activity are completed, so it's missing only the site restoration. We're going to restore the 2 eastbound lane. We're going to demo and restore the sidewalk and the 3 box. We're going to restore the curb and the roads. At the end, we're going to restore the median.
All right, so in front of T Street, because it's still closed off for pedestrians, right in front of there, the detour is set up such that pedestrians will utilize the crosswalks at first and second. So if you're utilizing the west crosswalk at first, and then go along across there along the south side of the roadway, past the site, and then up to 2nd Street and cross up there until the time that the sidewalk can be reopened. And that's pretty much what's been going on for quite a while here. And just please follow the detour signs for your safety.
So as a site restoration, as mentioned before, so we are going to remove all the monitoring devices that we use to construct the structure. We are going to have demolition activity. So we're going to demo all the temporary structure. We're going to demo the area where the bioretention is going to be, sidewalk and roadway. So we're going to construct the bioretention area, install 3 boxes, plants, trees. Basically, we are going to repave all T Street Northwest and all the area on Rhode Island Avenue Northwest in front of T Street. Repave pedestrian, ADA, curb ramps, sidewalk, curb and gutter, all the area that was affected by the construction. We're going to remove the temporary underground utilities and rebrick the alley. Actually, if you notice, we start the job Monday this week. So we are working on the rebrick and repave the alley. We're going to set the street light, and at the very end, we're going to restore the median.
So this is, we'll zoom in and talk about the bioretention that we'll be constructing at T Street. This is right there in the corner area where T Street and Rhode Island Avenue meet. There was a bioretention there previously, and so we are just restoring it now. There will be lovely plants again that we will place in the area, including a tree, a magnolia Jim Wilson moonglow tree will be planted in this area as well.
So moving to Florida Avenue construction site, also here, the working hours are the same for the other side. So we work from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Usually we work till 5. The construction end date is foreseen for summer this year. So all the concrete activity of the concrete structure is completed. We poured the roof of the shaft last week. So basically now we are demobilizing everything. We are demobilizing all the equipment. We are cleaning the site. And the S40 Street pump station, and also is going to be for our street, we are start demolition of all the temporary support structure. After that, in 2-3 weeks, we are going to start the site restoration. The site restoration along Rhode Island Avenue is completed. Along Florida Avenue is completed. So there, the lanes and the road is already open. We are going to start the site restoration in what is missing, so along 3rd Street and Florida. We'll go to the next slide.
Okay, from a traffic perspective, the big change since last time that we met was that now Florida Avenue is back open up to 2 lanes in each direction. At 3rd Street and at 2nd Street, there's a couple of what's called blinker lights or flashing pedestrian warning signs, and those will be permanently put in at those locations. And then for the rest of this, along Rhode Island, we still have the 2 lanes going westbound through the site until you get past Florida, and then it starts to open up to 3 lanes. And going the other way, going eastbound, you have 3 lanes, gets reduced right in front of the gas station to 2 lanes, continues as 2, and stays that way through 1st Street until it opens up again as 3 lanes. There are some parking restrictions in the area too that will continue.
Hello, I had a question about the near surface structure demolition, which has been talked about here quite some bit here. What does it actually mean on Thomas Street, for example? Because I know there have been months and months and months concrete trucks pouring concrete into this area, especially of the church parking lot. There's a drop shaft which is 100 foot deep, and we have quite a bit of new surface structures. Does that mean there is how much concrete is coming out there, and how much vibration will this actually cause, and any damage which is caused by this vibration covered by DC water? And I'm saying this because I actually had damage to the 1st Street tunnel construction and was flooded, but I'm a little worried about taking out huge amounts of concrete. Maybe the construction team can talk a little bit more about that. Also, there's a 100 foot deep shaft on the church parking lot. What will happen to that? Will it be filled with what kind of aggregate? Will it be filled? Will it be hollow? Will it be topped off with something? Because as we all know, a developer bought that church parking lot and the church. I think there might be plans out of building a 4 to 5 story building on top of that church parking lot. So if that thing stays in there, there might be restrictions to what can be built on there or not. So is there any way to please elaborate a little bit more on what will happen at the church parking lot here on the pumping station, CSA / 1st and Thomas Street? I would really appreciate that, please.
Great. So what we'll do, we will come back to that during the Q&A, and we could spend some time at that site and answer your questions, make sure that you get the information that you're looking for. I think I may have not said at the beginning, asking everyone to please hold their questions until the Q&A portion of the meeting. But if you can, hold your questions until that portion. We'll make sure we get through everybody who has a question, and we can definitely come back and spend some time talking about the First Street site. So at the moment, we'll go ahead and finish with going through the presentation. We have just one more site to do after Florida, and there's a few more slides, and then we'll go ahead and get to the Q&A. So Matt, was there anything else that you wanted to say about traffic?
No, I think I covered everything. You can go to the next slide.
All right, thank you.
So the next
So
slide.
we're on to the restoration work
Yes.
at Florida Avenue.
So
Giuseppe?
the next slide covers the restoration work at Florida Avenue. So remove all the structure is completed. So we are going to remove all the monitoring devices, demo the temporary structure, sidewalk, roadway, whatever we are gonna repave, install the tree boxes, plant trees. As I said, Florida Avenue Northwest was already repaved and open, so we are gonna repave 3rd Street Northwest and Rhode Island Avenue Northwest. Repave the pedestrian, ADA, curb ramp, sidewalk, curb and gutter, and the driveway that are leading to the gas station. Complete the traffic signals, poles, and street light along Rhode Island Avenue, and we are going to restore the median along Rhode Island Avenue as well. So we move now to the last site, R Street Northwest. So also over there, the concrete structure all the concrete structures are completed. So this was the last site where the TBM arrived, and when the TBM was get out from the tunnel. Now we are demolishing all the temporary support structure, and on the ventilation control vault, we are installing all electrical and mechanical parts. The next activity, since all the work in the tunnel are almost completed, we are going to install the drop shaft lid. And then we are going to demo all the slurry wall of the shaft 5 feet below grade. And also over there, we're going to start the site restoration. The working hours are, as usual, Monday, Friday from 7 to 5. And occasionally we work also on Saturday. The construction end date is going to be summer, fall 2023, because this is going to be the last site to be completed. If we can move to the next slide.
Okay. From a traffic standpoint, the site will remain the same as it has been. On westbound Rhode Island, it's 3 lanes, and it'll continue to be 3 lanes. On eastbound, it's reduced from 3 to 2 lanes by Marion and continue 2 lanes pretty much through the whole site. And then on 6th Street, we do have 2 lanes, go down to 1 lane in there, and then it stays 1 lane also, both northbound and southbound. One thing I should point out, that when this is complete, before there used to be a double right turn on northbound 6th Street to Rhode Island Avenue. That's going to be reduced to a single right to help improve safety at that intersection. Our street is presently closed between Rhode Island and 6th. It will remain closed, and everybody who's coming through our street either makes a right or a left to go follow the detour. And the bike lane remains open throughout that area. And here's the detour route down 6th Street, make a left on 6th, then make a left from R to 6th, then a right on P, and then head north on 7th is the detour for people who want to continue on our street. And the last thing is the pedestrians at this intersection, which is very important. Some of the crosswalks are closed at Rhode Island and 6th. The west crosswalk is closed. Also, the south crosswalk is closed. And at 6th and R, the north crosswalk is closed and the west crosswalk is closed. So again, the detour is on the east side, going down there, and on the north side, of Rhode Island and the south side of our street. So that people, and again, I repeat, just be very careful walking through the area and for safety considerations. That's it.
So the site restoration at our street are massive, since we have to rebuild the park. So as soon as we finish with the electrical work and the shaft cover, we're going to remove all the monitoring devices, construct 3 bioretention area on the park, then all the structure, sidewalk, roadway. We have to repave all the pedestrian and ADA curb ramps, sidewalks that they give the access to the park, curb and gutter. Along Rhode Island, where the bus stop is going to return to the original location, set traffic signal poles and street light along Rhode Island and 6th. We are going to incorporate the D-dot lane modification to 6th Street Northwest northbound at Rhode Island Avenue Northwest, restore the median along Rhode Island Avenue, and we are going to reinstall all the park features that are shown on the next slide. We're going to plant 3 willow oaks, plant 9 creep myrtles, which bloom with attractive bark. We're going to plant shrubs, grasses, blooming perennials, and ground cover. We're going to restore the original ornamental iron fencing in the park, the Cooper Memorial sign, and is going to be added a new sign, the Gordon Memorial sign. Install 3 new park benches, a new irrigation system with the rain sensor to water the plants, and then this is also a new art. We are going to install a sculpture of 9 foot 6 feet tall that was awarded to Chris Tumsis, an artist from the Commission of Arts and Humanities of Washington, D.C.
So now, thank you, Matt and Giuseppe. So now we'll go ahead and talk about the claims process. That if you are a property owner and you believe that this construction project was the cause of damage to your home, you may initiate a claim. You can start by sending an email to dccleanrivers@dcwater.com or leave a message at our hotline, which is 800-988-6151. We ask that you send us a brief description of the damage and all of your contact information, your address and such. A representative of SIH, who is the design build contractor for the project, will reach out to you and will initiate the claim on your behalf. The claim receives a claim number and an investigation begins. So it's recommended that when you see damage that you report it. Alan?
Yes, good. Thank you, Hidea, and good evening, everyone. We have had a great fortune of being able to interact with the Main Street organizations, North Capitol Street and Shaw Main Streets, and we've been able to encourage our interactions with our partners to support the businesses there in the community. That's our focus, of course. And here we have a slide that has the Anaya Petty's number and contact information there for North Capitol Street, Main Street. And I think I saw Alex Padro with us this evening, joining us online for the meeting. And there you see his information there. And of course, the Shaw Main Street organization serves the R Street construction site, and North Capitol Street serves the First Street pumping station, T Street, and Florida Avenue sites. Our partnership, again, we've been very fortunate to have this partnership. It ends officially this month, but because we're still doing work in these areas, we're going to maintain an information sharing relationship with these organizations. they'll interact with us regularly to let us know about any concerns or anything that we can do to make things better. Thank you, Hadiya.
Thank you. So we do have contact information. If you need to reach out to us for any reason, if you have a question or concern, I'll place this contact information in the link. I'm sure you all who are on this meeting know how to reach us, but just in case, I'll make sure I place this for everyone. So now we are at the end of our meeting. We will take calls. We will take questions from people who are online. You could drop your question in the chat mode, or you could raise your hand using the feature, the Zoom feature, and we will acknowledge you in rotation with people who are on the phone who have a question. You may press *9 and we'll unmute you when it's your turn to ask a question. So thank you, everyone, for working with us. I know that we have some questions in the chat. So what I'll do is I'll scroll through the chat to begin looking for the questions. And my colleague, Alan, will help me to find anyone who's raising their hand who has a question that you would like us to answer. I'm scrolling first through the participants.
Do we want to go back to Chris and have his question? He asked a question earlier.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Let me go back and share the screen to help with that conversation. Chris, if you could unmute yourself, and we'll go ahead and
Yes,
work on
sir.
answering your
Everyone.
questions.
I had a question about the demolition of the new surface structures on Thomas Street, the church parking lot, on Thomas and First, and what will exactly happen with the drop shaft. Maybe if you could talk a little bit more about that. And the second question I had is, how many cases did you have of construction damage over the last, I don't know, since this project started with the First Street Tunnel? How many claims did actually come in? And yeah, if you could talk about first about the demolition of the First Street Tunnel pumping station, what that exactly involves, how deep you guys go down, what kind of equipment will be used, how much vibration will be expected, and then also what the overall damage claim process, how many cases were there over the last 10 years? Thank you.
Let me start with the claims question. I am unable to answer how many over the last 10 years. I don't have that information in front of me, but for the Northeast Boundary Tunnel, we've had a little over 30 claims that have been initiated since work began. Giuseppe, would you be able to talk about the removal of the First Street pump station and what that construction looks like?
Of course. So, as I said before, the pumping station side was a temporary side. So we are going to remove all the mechanical, all the equipment that is that are now on site, and we have to fulfill the shaft, the main, and the demolition work are going to affect all the area that is all the structure that is located 5 feet below grade. After that, we are going to demo all the temporary working pad. So wherever you see the connex inside the fence, we have to demo everything. This is going to be a surface demolition. It's not going to go deeper. It's going to affect 10, 12 inches. So we're going to demo all the concrete, and then we have to do the permanent restoration, means we're going to restore the parking lot with a full depth restoration. But where the shaft was and the near surface structure, we have to demo all the concrete structure 5 feet below grade. You're gonna expect to demo that since it's concrete, high strength concrete, a big excavator. It's gonna be a big excavator that is demo the concrete structure, and the vibration, I don't know, depends where you are located.
I'm probably 15 feet away from there.
15.
I mean, I'm the corner on the Thomas and the alley. So I'm the red brick building right
On
there.
the other side of the street.
Yeah.
We are gonna do the maximum. We're gonna do the maximum effort to minimize the noise, but you're gonna be impacted of a bit from the vibration, since you are next to the construction site.
Okay, so I know when this was poured, there was like, at least when First Street Tunnel was built, there must have been a period where, like, for 2 weeks, like 6 or 7 or 8 concrete trucks went in there every day. And that's probably 4,000 PSI concrete, I would assume. Like you said, it's high strength concrete. That's going to be rough on the houses next to it.
What I can tell that we already did, and we are doing the same process in all the site of the project. So is a process that was already done. The demolition of the structure 5 feet below grade is something that has been done and will be done in all the construction project in Washington, D.C. Is a DDOT requirement.
Yeah, well, you have a claims process, I guess. When it comes to that point, I have to go to the claims process.
And what we can do is, because I know that you've mentioned this before, and so since you have questions about it, we can follow up with you and have a one-on-one conversation with you and just to give you some more information and just try to figure out what exactly you'll experience and what more the project can do to help reduce some of those impacts. So we'll follow up with you. We know how to reach you, and we'll set that up as soon as possible.
Do you know how long this decommission will take? Like, how long will the excavator be actually there and chipping away and all that? Is it like 2 weeks, 1 week? Is there any anticipated time frame?
It's not gonna take months. I believe it's gonna take 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to 4 weeks. It depends the condition that we're gonna find. But
I have pictures of it. This is going to be in my
area is not a big area, so I'm not expecting months for the demolition.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Right, let's see, we're going to go back to, I do see 2 hands raised. Let's see if I can identify who those are.
You see Erica. Erica had her hand up.
I'm sorry.
Erica Moltz has her hand up.
Yes, hi. Hi, good evening. I was under the impression, of course, that DDOT are the ones that handle the traffic issues on T Street. I'm just wondering how DC Water is going to partner with the residents to try to get some traffic modifications on T Street when it's open. You know, we've lived for all these years with T Street not being a through street, and then when it's open, cars zoom on the street. And the speed bump that was there was very small, so it didn't really stop traffic. So I'm wondering what plans there are to modify traffic on T Street. Thank you.
Let's see, Kyle and Matt, would you be able to talk to Erica about the process for what to do once our construction is completed?
Sure. So good evening, and thank you for that question. This is Kyle Olson with DDOT. I can certainly pass that concern along to DDOT's traffic engineering and safety division, and we can take a closer look at it. You're correct, it has been closed for several years, and so when it reverts, it will be enticing to drivers to use that as a cut through. Certainly understand the concern. So I don't know of any plan at the moment, but I'm certainly willing to share that with our, like I said, our traffic engineering and safety division and see what we can come up with.
Thank you. I did write a letter with ANC support and have an, and DDOT issued me some kind of number. So they said it was on their radar, but I
Okay.
haven't heard back from them.
Okay. Do you know approximately how long ago that was?
Many months ago,
Okay.
probably a year and a half ago at least. And then they've updated me with they've given me a number in the interim. Not sure when that was.
Okay. So I will follow up with that on DDOT's end, and then I may have to reach out to you possibly via Hadia if we need some further details.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I'd like to acknowledge a few people in the audience. We have some commissioners in the meeting tonight. Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Puma, for ANC 5E04. Let's see, who else do we have? Just looking through the participant list. We have Commissioner Kevin Rapp of ANC 5E05. You've just met Kyle Olson, who's representing DDOT tonight. And I think that's all for the commissioners who are in the meeting. So let me go back, and we're going to take a person who's on the phone. Your phone number ends 1219. You may unmute yourself and ask your question. Try again, and you may unmute yourself, 1219. Your phone number is 631-1219. You may unmute yourself. Okay, we'll come back to you if you still have a question. All right, going back to the
Hello,
top of
can
the
you
list.
hear me now?
Oh, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, sorry. I'd missed the first 5 minutes or so this may have been addressed then, and I apologize if it was. But when exactly will the 100 block of Rhode Island and the T Street site be restored with sidewalk, fully repaved, and median? Is there what's the actual time for that? The slide only says the summer of 2023, which is somewhere between June and September. And for those of us who live on this block, we're anxious that it be earlier rather than later.
Let's see. So, Giuseppe, are you able to talk more about the end time for T Street?
So yeah, it's gonna be between June and July, early summer. It's not gonna be September. So we are working hard.
Okay.
We're working hard because the site restoration is a very complicated phase. The structure is completed, so we want to make sure that we don't leave nothing behind. We're working hard with DC Water, and we are expecting the completion date between June, July this year.
Okay, as part of that construction work, the hoe ram that's used to take up the street are you taking the full foot of reinforced concrete that's below the pavement? Because if so, the hoe ram that was used for the construction site out here for the drop shaft, all the houses that are right by that shook when that went on. And so there's a lot of concern on this block about damage to houses by using that giant hoe ram if you are going to be taking up that full foot of reinforced concrete?
That the shaft, all the temporary structure have been taken out. So they're not gonna be structural demolition in that area. It's gonna be demolition that
I'm talking about the pavement for repaving.
most of the pavement, we're gonna repave the full depth restoration, only the area, the footprint of the structure that was already, most of them, it was already taken out. But yes, we're gonna use a whole ram. We're gonna use an excavator to demo that. But
We'll be
most of
shaking the houses again.
it was already removed.
I'm not asking about the structures that were used to create the drop shaft. I know what's there and what's not there. What I'm asking about is when you're repaving the 100 block, are you taking out that full, there is a foot of concrete under the pavement on Rhode Island. It's reinforced. I'm asking whether when you restore basically the full 100 block of Rhode Island, are you going to take out that foot of concrete for that whole block and then repave it with that full foot of concrete put in new?
Yeah, we're gonna use it. You're asking about the equipment that we're gonna use, right?
I'm asking, yes, whether, I mean, I'm making you aware that using that shakes the houses and that the residents are not happy about that. And that is a problem, and we don't like to go through the claims process because the claims process historically has not been particularly successful. The other question that I have is I want to know on the record, what is happening with the tree that was taken down by your engineers who dug in the wrong place? What is happening with that tree? Is an older tree being put in, and was DC Water or the contractor fined by the city for killing that tree? Thank you.
In reference to the tree, we have discussed this already. We talked about the process that DC Water went through with the contractor. The tree will be replaced. It will, the Urban Forestry Division will determine the size of the tree that will be placed there because a new tree has to be placed that will grow in its place. So they've decided that a willow oak will be the replacement, the same type that was taken away, but they can't put a mature tree back there. So we could talk further with Urban Forestry to understand the exact size of the tree that will be placed there, if that would be helpful for your understanding.
Was the contractor and DC Water fined?
No,
By
the contractor
city
was
for
not
killing that tree.
fined.
Okay. Thank you. I will
You're
talk to the city
welcome.
about that.
Okay. So we have another question. So when coming back to the question about the hoe ramming, I think the community is concerned about the type of tools that we use. So we'll give more information about that process, and we'll talk about the type of work that they need to do to restore the sidewalk. So there is a lot of demolition involved in the restoration phase, but you're asking some specific questions. If you feel that we didn't answer that question tonight, we'll follow up with you in our newsletter, or we could talk to you directly and make sure that we answered your question. So that applies both to the First Street pumping station restoration and the T Street. So we have a question from Manuel Pasola. You can lower your hand and go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks. Just have a couple quick questions. First, I'd appreciate if you could give a little more detail on when the sewer damage occurred near the Baptist Church on First and Rhode Island Avenue, and what, if any, impact that had on the sewer capacity in the area and when that's going to get fixed. And then second, if you could just explain in the First and Rhode Island area, beyond any sewer entry points that existed before, now that there's these big tunnels under there, did you guys add new ways for water to go kind of directly into the new big tunnels, or is it still going to rely on kind of the existing sewer entry points from the past? Thanks.
Giuseppe, would you be able to talk about the sewer work at First and Rhode Island? And
Yes.
Robin or Harold, would you mind talking more about how the system operates with the sewer system?
So about the repair work that we're going to perform in the sewer in front of the church was repair work that was performed a long time ago. So was performed, and now after a video inspection, we noticed that there is something small missing. So we are going to enter the sewer in a couple of weeks, and we're going to assess the amount of the repair that hopefully is not going to be a lot. There is a pipe that was left over inside the sewer that it needed to be repaired, but most of the repair were done 3 years ago during the jet grouting activity. So was something already done, and we noticed after a video inspection that there is something left over, nothing major.
Did this cause the flooding?
Harold or
No,
Robin?
yeah, this is Harold. I can
Thanks.
talk about the sewer system. So the northeast boundary project didn't intercept any sewers at this location at First Street and Thomas Street, or at Rhode Island. At this intersection is T Street. There is no sewer intercepted. So T Street only picks up runoff from inlets. And the big sewer who runs down First Street was intercepted during the First Street tunnel project. So the structure to intercept the sewer along First Street is further open. So this will be dropped into the First Street tunnel in a rain event, and then in the NEBT. But there is no change in any sewer connections, and didn't cause any flooding. Is this answering your question?
Yeah, I think so. I personally there was some sort of sewer clog that occurred in December of 2022, the end of last year on my block. And I know that was around the time when you guys were going to be shutting off the First Street tunnel temporarily. And I was wondering if this sewer damage was related to that, but it sounds like this probably pre-existed that condition. But if one of you could also answer my second question, just about like in this area of First and Rhode Island and T, historically there's been a lot of water accumulation in this intersection because it's kind of the low point. Was part of the construction that you all have done to add more kind of ways for the water to get into the northeast boundary tunnel beyond the existing kind of entrances to the old?
Yes, exactly. So that was done. So the entire T Street side was only constructed to pick up more water because this is a low point. It's exactly right. So we added more inlets there, more infrastructure to pick up more water, which will be then dropped into the tunnel. You see, this is all inlets, and we don't intercepting any sewer there. So this side is different from all the other sides. All the other sides we intercepting a sewer, and we building a diversion chamber, approach channel, and drop the water from the sewer down into the tunnel. This is the low point, and this is new infrastructure to pick up runoff from the street.
Great, thank you.
So thank you. We have a question from Commissioner Huma Imtiaz.
Thank you, Hadi, and thank you to the DC Water team for this presentation. My question is about the traffic pattern changes that you talked about on Rhode Island Avenue. When do they go into effect? I believe the one where you talked about the lanes being reduced to 1 lane westbound. It would be great to know so we can let residents know about the traffic pattern changes. And then I would also like to reiterate, I think I already communicated with DC Water and DDOT, but the left turn that has been stopped on First Street in Rhode Island, people are still driving and taking that left turn illegally. So we would really appreciate extra signage well ahead of that intersection, because I think what is happening is drivers are used to making that left turn, get to it, and then realize it's no longer allowed, but still continue to proceed with that turn, which is creating, I think, is an accident waiting to happen. And then I also just wanted to lift up Erica's comment about T Street and closing it, and reiterate that we would really like for DDOT to very quickly evaluate once the site is open, closing down T Street Northwest to incoming traffic from Rhode Island Avenue to mitigate some of the traffic speeding concerns that we saw before this project took place. But yes, if we could get an answer on when, what kind of signage will be put into place for Rhode Island Avenue to demonstrate the new traffic pattern changes, and also when those will go into effect. Thank you so much, everyone.
We did talk about this during the presentation. Matt, would you like to talk again about the signage at the intersection?
A couple of things. Your first question, I think it's, Giuseppe, tell me if I'm wrong. I think you said in 2 weeks, you'll be closing down Rhode Island to one lane. But an important point is that it will only occur between 9:30 and 3:30 in that area. It will not be permanently closed to one lane as you go westbound on Rhode Island Avenue. And we thank you, whoever made the comment. We are adding more signage to try to keep people to tell them that no left turn is available at this location. They're checking right now if they have additional signage, the contractor, and if not, they're going to order it and get it out there.
Sorry, just one follow-up question. So if it's only between 9:30 and 3:30, will you have manual flaggers who will be signaling that it's turning to one lane? I'm just curious about how that change will be communicated, because it's only for 6 hours in the day.
No, it'll be set up. They'll set up drums just the way they have it now. They have the one lane reduction, but then from the curb lane, a second lane will be reduced, and they'll use drums to, again, have people come over into the middle lane at that point.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we will, of course, get a notice out when this work is about to begin and talk about the traffic changes and the pedestrian detours that will go with that. So we will alert the community about that information. And you can, of course, Commissioner, work with us and share that with your constituents as well. Just making sure, I'm checking the chat area to see if we have any questions that we haven't addressed. We did talk about the tree that was cut down on the south side of Rhode Island Avenue, and we will replace that tree.
And Josh have their hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll before we go to Josh, we'll go to Commissioner Kevin Rapp. You may unmute yourself, ask your question.
Yeah, this one is a little bit off subject from the specific conversation today, but it does tie into the First Street tunnel, and that's with the ongoing work that you are wrapping up on the McMillan site. I was just looking if anybody on the call has somewhat of an ETA on when you will be done with the south west corner of the site by First and Channing, and then as well there's that that northeastern corner at the corner of North Capitol and Michigan.
Harold, he's talking about the commission phase of the work. We will be coming up there at Michigan and Channing to do some work later in the summer. I know that when we are getting ready to do that information, I'll go out to the public, to you, Commissioner, as well, and let you know that that work is upcoming and exactly what we'll be doing. But Harold, can you give a sense of time about when that work will occur?
Yeah, I can speak about this. So there's infrastructure up at the Channing Street shaft, which was part of the First Street tunnel when it was still a pure storage facility. And when we connect this tunnel, the First Street tunnel, to the Northeast Boundary Tunnel and then to the Anacostia system, this infrastructure is not needed anymore. So there will be some demo work So we have to demo the cabinet there at Channing Street, but it's just very short work. And this work will be done after we have the tunnel in service, when it's commissioned, it's operational. So we said in summer, we can't really finalize on the day. The commission takes about, I would say, 2 months. And then after this commissioning duration, we will work on the Channing Street side, as well as the Michigan Avenue side, where we have also infrastructure which converts water into the sand filtration, which is then not needed anymore. So then this will be also taken out of service after we commissioning the Northeast Boundary Tunnel. So I would expect this towards late summer, early fall. This is will happening.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're
Welcome.
Josh, you're next.
Hey there, Hadia. I was part of the group that you emailed with on the south side of Rhode Island Avenue regarding the tree that was taken out. And we were promised that the contractor would certainly be paying the fine. I'm just curious if you could speak a little bit more to that, why they weren't.
Let's see, is there anybody who can speak on the detail of how we work with the contractor when a mistake was made on, usually we have Scott Shalansky who would be able to talk to you about that. Is there anyone else who'd be able to talk to them about the tree? We did not find the contractor, but can someone say what we did in working with SIH concerning that?
Hadia?
Yes.
Urban Forestry is actually supposed to put out the fine, and they said they would. We're still waiting on that. So Urban Forestry will put the fine out for basically destroying the tree. And then they are also going to replant. We've been asking them for that paperwork. Still haven't received it, but Urban Forestry will levy the fine.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Robin McNabb.
Hey, Robin. Hey, Robin. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm wondering if Urban Forestry would also have any input on the type of tree that's being put there because of all the traffic that's going to be, on Rhode Island once this all reopens. I'm really concerned that a sapling or a smaller tree won't survive. And I don't know if anybody was being tasked with kind of assessing that.
Josh, we don't know what Urban Forestry, but what we're doing is actually, we're gonna basically remove the sidewalks in front of that and put in what they call the CU soils, which will help feed the trees. So it's a nutrient for the trees that'll go into the sidewalks, help the trees grow better. I don't know if that helps you at all, but.
Yeah, no, I guess I just felt like we were given an assurance that it wouldn't just be like a sapling thrown in, this mess, to replace this 75-year-old oak. And I just wanted to echo the previous sentiment that it's very disappointing. And I guess I'm also curious about the median on the 100 block of Rhode Island Avenue. Will the trees that were in there be restored?
Yes, those trees will be restored as well. So
Wonderful.
Any trees that we removed, we will restore. And
Wonderful.
Since the community has so many questions about the particular tree on the south side, I'll reach out to Urban Forestry to see what decisions they've made concerning the type and the size of tree that will go there. And I'll share that with the community.
Thank you so much. And if you could also share the information about the fine, I would really appreciate that.
I won't share that in the newsletter, but I could send you an email.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right.
And Hadia, could I just jump in for a minute, please?
Yes. Yeah.
So again, this is Kyle Olson with DDOT. I'm not a representative of DDOT's Urban Forestry Division, but I do work closely with them. So to reiterate what Robin was saying, the Urban Forestry Division does take the lead in these circumstances. They want to make sure that whatever tree or trees ultimately end up being replanted have the best opportunity to survive. So as trees get larger in diameter, it's more difficult to ensure that they can survive, especially in a difficult urban environment. So they'll certainly do their best to make sure that we get something that is reasonable and and has the best chances, but it will not be a full mature tree like what had been there before, unfortunately. But again, the Urban Forestry Division makes all those decisions, and they've been actively involved. Thanks, Adia.
Thank you. We'll take this next question from a caller. Do you have another question? Your number ends in 1219. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, given that you are aware of residents' concerns of home damage due to the use of the building shaking hoe ram excavator, so what do you plan to do differently as you go about repairing and repaving the 100 block of Rhode Island to prevent further home damage to those houses that were shaken so extensively when using that heavy machinery before?
Robin, would you?
I can probably help out. Most of the demo of the roadway, the concrete part is completed. So now we'll be repouring the concrete and repaving the road. So anything on that 100 block of Rhode Island, basically the demo is done. So now we'll just be pouring the concrete back and repaving. There might be some small we have to saw cut, but that most of the demo is done.
Okay, that I misunderstood from what Giuseppe said earlier, since he said that the hoe ram excavator would be used again. So you're confirming that it will not be?
Not on that side. On T Street, we still have a small portion of demo to do on the T Street side, but very little to do besides the sidewalk repairs over on the 100 side of Rhode Island.
But on Thomas Street.
Sorry, so you will be using the hoe ram excavator where? On what part of the block?
Over on T Street, we have some demo to do to put this bioretention in, and it's like 2 foot.
I see. And how will you be? I see. How will you be repaving the sidewalk on the whole block? Yeah, the full road block. Then will you be using the full block of Rhode Island? How will you be repaving it? That doesn't involve. You're saying that does not involve ripping out the concrete that is there.
So if you're talking about the south side of Rhode Island, is that where you're talking about?
Correct.
No, she's also talking about the median area, and when we repave Rhode Island Avenue, what is the construction method that we use? Do we need to excavate the roadway first before we repave? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, we're asking whether machinery is going to be used that will cause the houses to shake again as before, or whether different machinery will be used to make those repairs.
On that area, it's Giuseppe, on that area, on the south side of Rhode Island, all the demolition is completed. We are gonna demo only the sidewalk. That is gonna be done with a smaller machine. Smaller area of the sidewalk has to be done.
Okay, so the roadway is not being repaved?
As I said before, what has to be demo is the footprint of the structure that has already been demo. So now is the time to repave. That's it.
So when we repave Rhode Island Avenue, the actual street, the roadway, do we need to do any demolition on the roadway before we repave it?
There is a temporary concrete in the middle of Rhode Island Avenue where you have the cursor now. that we have to demo in a separate phase, not now. And yeah, we are going to use an excavator, but we are in the middle of Rhode Island Avenue. We are not close to any block, to any apartment over there.
Okay, it is a bit disturbing. I just want to have this on record that it took that much back and forth to get to that answer when I think the question was quite clear. Does not inspire a huge amount of confidence, but thank you for eventually answering that.
Thanks.
I think the key word, Robin, that you use that we need to emphasize is saw cutting. We can isolate the concrete road base by saw cutting. So let's make sure we're doing the saw cutting necessary to ensure that we're isolating any areas on both areas that might. That's one way to mitigate it.
Yep, John, I agree. But I said on that south side, the only demo we have left to do is actually the sidewalk, which is basically 4 inches thick. So that'll be either by hand or a very small machine that won't shake your guys' houses.
Thank you. I'm glad we have that on record.
Okay. I'm glad we were able to get to your answer. I'm going to go through the chat to review and see if I have any questions that we need to answer. My question, will the claims for damages include water damage from flooding? My property in Shaw has flooded 3 times since construction started on this project, and the location never flooded before this started. So I think there are 2 ways that you could go about this. I'm not sure why your home flooded, but there is the claim process. You can initiate a claim if you think that we were the cause of it. And you can also, if you are experiencing this type of flooding, we can reach out to DC Water's Command Center to investigate that. We did put that information in the chat. If you send an email or make a phone call to DC Water's Command Center, they should do an investigation to find out why there is flooding, to see if it's on the DC Water side or if it's something with your property. And if it's on the DC Water side, then they will make some repair to it. But if you also think that there's damage done, you can submit a claim if you think it was caused by our project. But I encourage you to copy those links that I did put into the chat to do some, to look at that information that's provided online. I hope that helps. Do we have another hand that's been raised? I think we've taken the question from the phone 1219. You can pull over your hand there. And I'll go through chat just a little bit more. What's the time limit to file a claim? What's the status of limitation? Actually, I need to find the answer to what the time limit is, but DC Water does suggest that if you see damage that you immediately initiate a claim. I don't know what the time limit is. We can, I think this is from Chris, we can work with you to find out if there is a time limit. Alan, do we have any other questions that I may be missing? Can you check?
Yeah, I don't see anything. Nope, that's all. I don't see anything in the chat. No one's hands raised.
So in review, we'll reach out to you, Chris, to have a one-on-one conversation about the work that's going to be done at the First Street Pump Station. To the community who has concerns about the new tree that will be placed on the south side of Rhode Island Avenue, we'll follow up with Urban Forestry to prepare a newsletter about what new tree will replace that and the size of it and when that will occur. We'll follow up with you directly, Josh, if you could send me your email to make sure that I have it, we can talk more about we could get the information about what Urban Forest will do about the fine for SIH. We will inform the community about when we begin the sewer work in front of Bethesda Baptist. We'll send out a newsletter that work is coming, and it'll include the traffic pattern changes so that everyone is aware of it. When we get closer to the work that will occur at Michigan and at Channing and at McMillan as a whole, we will send information out to that community. I know the last time when we had to take the First Street Tunnel out of service during the winter, I presented at community meetings, including the ANC and Civic Association. We distributed door hangers to residents on Channing Street. So you could expect that type of outreach again when we get to that work. At the top of my memory, I think that's everything that I can remember. Alan has taken notes. If there's anything else that we need to follow up with residents, we'll be sure to reach out to you. I hope that you have found this presentation helpful. You can follow up directly with us if you have further questions. We did drop our email in the chat. Reach out to us at dccleanrivers@dcwater.com, and we'll respond to your questions. So thank you for your participation tonight. It means a lot to us. We want to stay in direct communication with this community until we get to the end of construction and get this tunnel operational. So until then, I wish you all a wonderful evening and have a great weekend as well. Take care.